Yo, what is going on, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Adamoose, and today in this series called In Depth, I'm going to be breaking down everything that you need to know about LeeSin jungle.
Your weakness is revealed.
Lee has been one of my favorite champions for years due to his fast-paced, high skill cap kit. Although I don't usually recommend him for new players, he's one of the best champions to learn the jungle fundamentals on if you're looking to take your game to the next level. If you enjoy the content, it really helps me out if you could leave a like, comment, and subscribe to the channel to help your boy out with the YouTube algorithm. If you want to talk with me and other members in the community, be sure to join the Discord link that's in the description. I hope you guys can learn something. Enjoy the video. LeeSin's passive is called Flurry. After casting an ability, LeeSin's next two basic attacks within 3 seconds gain bonus attack speed and restore energy. This is very basic, but probably the most important thing to know about LeeSin. This not only greatly increases clear speed and DPS in fights, but also allows you to get multiple spell rotations off without running out of energy right away. Learning how to manage your energy effectively will greatly increase your chances of winning on Lee. LeeSin's Q is called Sonic Wave and Resonating Strike. LeeSin fires a blast in the target direction that deals physical damage to the first enemy hit, marking and revealing them. If recasted, LeeSin dashes to the targeted enemy, consuming the mark and dealing physical damage based on the target's missing health as an execute. This ability is Lee's main damage spell and can be used in multiple creative ways, not only as a finisher, but also as a playmaking and escape tool. LeeSin's W is called Safeguard and Iron Will. Lee dashes to a target ally's location. If that ally is a champion, LeeSin and your teammate are granted a shield, and the cooldown of this spell is halved. You can also self-cast Safeguard to shield yourself if no allies are nearby. If cast on a minion, no shield will be granted. If you cast W twice, Iron Will grants LeeSin lifesteal and Spell Vamp for 4 seconds. Both of these abilities are generally defensive, allowing Lee to protect himself, teammates, and gain some very solid sustain. You can also dash to minions and wards, which are staples to Lee's kit. Keep in mind that Safeguard is probably Lee's most versatile ability, as the dash it provides can be used in so many different ways, which we'll discuss later in his combos. LeeSin's E is called Tempest and Cripple. Lee smashes the ground, dealing magic damage to enemies near him, marking and revealing them for 4 seconds. If Tempest hits an enemy, Lee can then cast Cripple within the next 3 seconds to slow all enemies affected. This AoE spell is mostly used for extra DPS or some chase down potential with the slow. This is the most basic ability in Lee's kit and really helps when clearing AoE jungle camps. LeeSin's ultimate is called Dragon's Rage. Lee roots the target enemy champion shortly during the cast time, after which he punts them, dealing massive physical damage and knocking them back, making them go airborne for 1 second. All enemies that collide with the kick target are also knocked up for 1 second and take a ton of physical damage as well. One very important thing to note is that the target's displacement direction depends on where LeeSin is at the end of the cast time. This is why you can flash during the cast time to pull off some fancy insect kicks. If the target dies initially on the first hit, there will be no displacement of any kind. Keep in mind that although this ability seems simple at first, it can be used in many creative ways once mastered. For ability maxing, LeeSin maxes Q first, W second, and E third in all games. In cases where you want to run a more fun build with full damage, you can max E second, but definitely is not as consistent. Now let's jump right into LeeSin's best rune setups for Season 12. Although he has a pretty complex kit and playstyle, his runes and items are very straightforward. Conquer is the strongest and most consistent option for Lee by far. It provides good dueling power, sustain, and can be stacked up very fast with his passive. To close out the precision tree, Triumph, Legend Alacrity for DPS, Legend Tenacity into heavy CC teams, Coup de Grace into squishies, or Last Stand into low burst, tankier teams. For secondary, the Inspiration tree with Magical Footwear and Cosmic Insight is the best and most used choice by far. Magical Footwear is great to get some free boots early on, especially since LeeSin likes to get involved in a lot of action. Cosmic Insight though, is really the main reason why Inspiration is a no-brainer. This not only lowers your smite and flash cooldowns to allow for more plays, it also lowers your Gore Drinker cooldown for increased clear speeds and more dueling power. Although I wouldn't really recommend anything over Inspiration, Domination Secondary could also work with Sudden Impact and Relentless Hunter. Lastly, if you want a for fun build to delete squishies, Electrocute and Dark Harvest both provide massive burst, and it's extremely fun. For Rune Shards, Attack Speed, Adaptive Force, and either Armor or Magic Resist depending on your jungle matchup are the standard choices. Now that we've got Lee's runes down, let's discuss his best current item builds. For starters, both Red and Blue Smite are viable options. Red Smite is the most common choice for increased dueling power, while Blue Smite can aid in locking down and assassinating more mobile, squishy carries. For boots, Plated Steel Caps into heavy AD auto attack based teams, Merc Treads into heavy CC, and Ionian Boots of Lucidity in cases where you don't need the defensive stats. Now for mythics, Gore Drinker is by far the strongest, most consistent choice for Lee. It provides all the stats you need, with an added bonus of giving some more sustain when engaging on multiple targets. If you want to play a full burst build, Eclipse can be a fun choice to delete enemies, although much less consistent. For core items, Death's Dance for armor, Black Cleaver for much needed CDR and armor shred, Malma Mortius for magic resist, and Guardian Angel to power spike before important objective fights. From this point, the choices are wide open depending on what you need for the current game. It's extremely important for you to think about your final build differently for each individual game to maximize your effectiveness. Your goal is to build enough damage to threaten the enemy's backline, while also getting tanky enough to soak damage and engage for your team. Now let's discuss some mechanical tips that you can start using right away on Lee. Keep in mind that he really does have an insane amount of mechanics to learn, so I'll list some beginner, intermediate, and expert combos that you can work on at your own pace. To start off, R Auto, E Flash, and Q Smite. These are all simple combos that you want to get the hang of before moving to anything more complicated. R Auto is simply an execute combo. E Flash is a faster version of Flash E. Next up is the classic Ward Hop and Insec. The first thing you want to get extremely comfortable with is the basic Ward Hop. This can be used as a gap closer, escape, or even a playmaking tool. You can also use your Ward Jump to dodge skill shots while engaging against champions such as Thresh or Syndra, who can cancel your Q animation. Simply land Q, Ward Hop to change your dash angle, and then Q again. The Insec is pretty much just a Ward Jump behind your enemy to get a kick into your own team. This is usually set up with a Q engage, Ward behind the enemy, and then kick. If landing Q is not possible and you're not in range, you can also pull off a Ward Jump Kick Flash. Both these combos are crucial to learn for making picks in the mid and late game. Next would be the QRQ, RQQ, and Q Flash RQ combos. QRQ and RQQ are simply used as executes when you know your Sonic Wave will not get blocked. These are important to practice since missing your Q will be devastating. Q Flash RQ is a really spicy combo that is used to instantly burst a target without giving them a chance to react. As soon as your Q goes out, you want to flash on them to lock them down, guaranteeing that your Q lands and bursting them. Lastly, and my personal favorite, is the in and out combo. To pull it off, you QW R Flash and then Q. This advanced insect combo allows you to not only get behind the enemy and kick them to your team, but also to escape with them so you're not left stranded. It also just looks sweet for some extra style points. Now let's jump right into Lee's general jungle strategy and pathing. The first thing to always remember is to use your flurry passive attack speed every 2 autos to increase your clear speed. This is very self-explanatory, but is a massive difference maker when clearing, especially in the early game. On the topic of efficiency in the jungle, always remember to spread out your damage when clearing AoE camps such as raptors. Using your E and item actives to finish off the low HP targets is also a great way to speed up your clears. On top of that, always remember that your Q deals more damage based on how low the enemy HP is. Try to use this to your advantage as much as possible. When ganking, leading with a W gap closer to get off an E slow or red buff auto is a great way to give you a much higher chance to land your Q. I see too many new LeeSin players throw out some extremely difficult to land Qs instead of trying to be faker with your skill shots. W in, slow them, wait for any dashes or flash, then throw out your Sonic Wave. Before we even discuss jungle routes, it's important to understand the different skill orders to maximize your clearing efficiency. At level 1, W start is the most standard since the shield and sustain keeps you healthy. With that being said, Q start is actually the fastest level 1 start if you're purely focused on having a fast clear. Keep in mind that if you're starting red side and need to clear raptors, taking your E second is the most efficient skill order for the AoE camps. This goes for Krugs as well. That's why it's crucial that you don't autopilot your pathing and skill order, as this can cause you to be very inefficient. Now for actual jungle routes, Lee is pretty flexible, so let's get into all the different options. First is the 5 camp clear into Gank or Scuttle, which is the most standard path to farm up before looking to make plays. This can be done on either side of the map, and is usually what I recommend for new players if you want to stick with one clear. If you want a more aggressive option, the 3 camp gank or invade path is a great choice if you have opportunities early on to make plays. This consists of either a red-blue Gromp clear or a red Raptors Gromp clear. After you hit level 3, you can choose to gank a vulnerable laner, invade the enemy who's doing a full clear, or continue clearing until Scuttle spawns. You can even gank at level 2 if there is a guaranteed kill. Just be sure of this since you'll be insanely far behind if not pulled off. If the enemy is pathing towards the opposite side of the map as you, and you don't need to rush down Scuttle Crab, you can even do the full clear route to maximize gold and XP by putting all of your camps on cooldown. Although not recommended in most games, it can still work if done in the right situation. It's important to constantly examine the map state to know which path is best, since this will change from game to game. Learning all of Lee's jungle routes is definitely difficult since it requires a ton of game knowledge. In general though, look for lots of ganks, play around CC and gank assist, bully out weak enemy junglers, and play around your lane priority to push your lead. Your goal should be to get as ahead as possible in the early and mid game, so you can secure all the objectives and close out the game before the enemy carries even have time to scale. LeeSin's biggest weakness is just how skill reliant that he is. This is both a good and bad thing in my opinion, but picking up Lee can be very overwhelming at first. His kit is not overloaded stat-wise, and does not have any insane wombo combo abilities. This is why I don't recommend Lee for players looking to instantly climb, since learning the ins and outs of his abilities, combos, playmaking potential, and pure aggression will come with time and lots of practice. That leads me to the next point, which is that LeeSin requires a very decisive mindset to pull off correctly. Hesitating on a play can be the difference between a good and a bad outcome. Playing this champ requires not only solid mechanics, but it requires some serious guts to actually go for plays, even if you do end up messing it up. It's extremely important to limit test and learn what you can and can't do if you want to have success on Lee. Lee can also struggle into team comps with tons of CC and lockdown, since you'll get bursted no matter how slippery you are. Champions such as Poppy, Rammus, Fiddlesticks, and Rek'Sai can all be tough matchups without some experience, so definitely be cautious when engaging. Lastly, LeeSin is extremely hard to play from behind due to him not having the fastest clear to catch back up. In addition, you'll be extremely squishy if you're behind on items, making you very vulnerable to getting instantly deleted. Last but not least, let's discuss LeeSin's strengths and what makes him an all-around great champion. First, and the reason why he's my favorite jungler of all time, is due to how damn fun he is to play. There are so many different mechanical tricks to learn, and his aggressive playmaking style makes him extremely unique compared to other junglers. This makes Lee a great champion to one trick, or even just to pick up for fun if you're looking to improve on your mechanics. Second is that Lee is a pretty old champion and has been relevant in the meta for years. Although he's not always S tier, good LeeSin players always seem to make him work. This is a huge benefit, since if you put the time in to learn him, you'll pretty much always be able to play Lee in any meta. He also has fantastic dueling, invading, playmaking, sustain, and damage all in one. This is why Lee thrives versus junglers who rely on being slippery, since he can not only fight extremely well, but also has great mobility to punish squishies and dodge key abilities. Champs such as Kiana, Echo, Jarvan, and Lilia are all great matchups for this reason. Although it takes some time to learn, knowing how to play situations to counter each specific champion is where true Master LeeSin shine. Lastly, Lee is one of the only champions that truly scales with your skill level. A good LeeSin player will find the right angle at key points to turn the game in your team's favor. A perfectly timed kick flash on the fed enemy AD carry is all it takes to make an otherwise unwinnable game winnable. Lee is an extremely fun, high skill cap champion that is relevant in literally every meta. He has a flexible playstyle that can change from game to game depending on what your team needs. If you're looking for a champion to put some time into learning for some massive returns, LeeSin is definitely the pick for you. That will do it for my Season 12 in-depth guide on LeeSin Jungle. If you want to support my content, make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn notifications on to keep up with my weekly uploads. If you're looking to add more jungle champs to your pool, make sure to check out the rest of my in-depth series to find more guides just like this one. With all that being said, thanks again for watching. Until the next video, peace out.